to a power to brainiacs and maniacs. They topping the same, spontaneous, adding more spots to your brain. CEO of the frame, Brian Ninja Network. So what is you saying? Place the bust to your ears. Stay tuned, stay near, stay close, no fear. Why you do what you do? Just sit back, relax for another episode. N.Cast is back. Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of N.Cast Plus. Yes, we are back in tune with another podcast with yours truly, Prince Ayo. So what is today's topic about? Today's topic is about tribalism. Now, why is tribalism so important? Now, first off, what is tribalism? Textbook definition of tribalism is the pattern of behavior and attitude that stems from strong loyalty to one's own tribe or social group. I have to look down here because I have notes. But yeah, so basically it's like a culture, a social group where you feel like you fit in. And you have this psychological mindset that it's us, the group that you fit in with, versus them, outsiders of the group. It's a pretty easy concept to understand, right? What are the different types of tribalism? First off, I'm only going to really talk about the pros and cons of tribalism. I'm just giving like a foundation of like understanding what tribalism means. So the different types of tribalism. You got tribalism in religion. You have tribalism in ethnic and race culture backgrounds. You have tribalism in political views, social views. You have tribalism in gender roles. I can really only speak for like how but also how tribalism relates in America, because that's where I was raised and it's the culture I'm used to. But tribalism is global. You see it everywhere. So let's talk about, I want to start off positive. There's so much negativity going on in this world. The last thing I want to do is start off with the negative parts about tribalism. You know, like I just don't want to hardball it. Just not yet. I'll get to that soon. So let's talk about the positive stuff about tribalism. One, who doesn't like to fit in a group? As social human beings, we are like made to fit into social groups and dynamics. Like we're social beings. You know, there's a reason why a lot of guys lose their mental stability in isolation for too long. You know, I hate to use the prison reference, but a lot of guys lose their mind when they're in isolation for too long. Months, years. Because we're made to socialize. We're made to interact with others. We're social creatures. And we also have this psychological need. It's not really like validation, but it's more so, well, some may call it validation, but you also like call it acceptance. You know, acceptance for who you are. You being yourself and a social group accepting you for who you are. It gives like a comforting feeling, you know? So tribalism has always been a part of like humanity, human society. That being said, tribalism has always existed in America. Now, you know, the majority are the white people. You know, they take up like at least like 70-something% of the population in America. But they split up too. They're multicultural too. You got Irish white people, you got Greek, you got other European white people. And then you have like a different social group from Asians to blacks. And that breaks down in itself too, because you have Japanese, Asian, Korean, Chinese, and then when you break down the blacks, you have Africans, then you got Black Americans, and then you can break it down even to like Jamaicans, Haitians. It just keeps going. So it's like a little like levels or hierarchy to it. So of course, naturally, you're going to have different type of tribalistic mindsets, which is good because it brings culture, you know? It's different culture within those tribes. You can get a lot of good things out of different cultures. And that's such a beautiful thing about being a part of your tribe and part of your culture. You can bring different culture, understanding, background to the table. That's why America's a melting pot, right? It's a beautiful thing, to be honest. If you have a different perspective. And a lot of times, it's almost at your fingertip because, like, you don't. I live in the DMV area, so like we have a lot of people who are just from different backgrounds. A lot of people visit DC, so from different parts of the world, from different parts of the nation, So it's a really beautiful thing where you get to understand that, like, all right, we're a melting pot. We have to understand different boundaries because we're different in cultures, but we also learn new stuff too from different cultures. And that's how I want to perceive it too when it comes to the pros. Like, you learn new things about different cultures and what they can bring to the table. Now, also I forgot to say that another different type of tribalism is like sports. Like sports is very tribalistic too. But back to what I was saying. Here's one thing about tribalism. It's never really going to change. It's something that's like part of psychology and human nature. So that's really not going to change. But what we can work on is the negative impact of tribalism, especially when it comes to like political views and pretty much political views. Because after political views and religion and stuff like that, it gets really hostile, and then it starts going towards more personal issues, and then it turns out to violence. And that's just something that is not necessary in all cases. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you have to apply violence for controls the situation to de-escalate situations, but not in all situations. Hopefully that made some type of sense. But let me just expand on what I mean by how we can work on the negative impacts of tribalism. One is polarization. It's basically just the magnitude of difference of each group, like between each group, pretty much. Say you're a Democrat, right? This is just an example. Say you're a Democrat, and your roommate that you're staying with is a conservative. You guys get along. I'm gonna go guys. I'm not trying to exclude women. It's just I'm a man, so I relate to more men. Say you guys get along pretty well, but there's just subtle stuff that you just can't understand the way of thinking of each other. Let's just go with social dynamics, right? It's the person, the Democrat is a Latino Democrat, and then the conservative is a white liberal, or the conservative is a white conservative, right? You can already tell the most like disagreement in that conversation is probably going to be like about immigration in America. You already tell. It's just a more common conversation where you're going to see a disagreement or like some misunderstanding. If it's not a disagreement, it's a misunderstanding. If you can't come to a common ground or at least see each other for, like, understand each other's shoes, like where they're coming from, your differences are going to expand more and more. When it expands more and more, that's when you start going to your own group where you're more familiar with. Like, say the white conservative goes to more group where he's familiar with other conservatives. And then Latino culture is very strong with family and community. So he's going to go back or talk to people he's more familiar with, like democratic views or immigration views, which is not so bad. It's just that the reality becomes us versus them. That's the problem. The reality becomes a tribalistic, I think it's called epistemic view. And the epistemology, I think that's how it's pronounced, is just basically the study of origin or the nature of knowledge. So all your reality becomes, yes, everything that us, the group that says the Latino Democrats, everything that they're saying to each other is always true, and any other information from the outside is going to be negative. It doesn't agree with our narrative and what we believe is true. And it's vice versa for the conservative group. And everything they're saying in their group is true, and you can't tell them anything different. And any outside information they're gonna be skeptical about it, or they're just gonna see it as completely wrong and ignorant. That's where it becomes a problem, because you can't find a common ground, and then you start assuming. When you start assuming, you start having prejudice and racial and a lot of degrading thoughts about the other group. And when you start heading down that field, I mean, especially with American history, it starts turning into violence. It'll start with protests, and then it starts turning into violence and more horrific events. Yeah. And it's all because the reality became a small bubble within that social group that you found acceptance in, that tribe that you found acceptance in. And that's the negative impact of tribalism. And it also messes with your morality too, because you're not going to see the other group as humans. You're going to see them as enemies and people you need to destroy. Your reality and perception gets skewed. And that's pretty much the con of tribalism and the danger of tribalism. I think it's starting to get exposed more and more this generation, because we have the internet, because we all have a voice on our platforms, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Twitter, whether it's TikTok, you name it. We have our own platform, our own voice to voice our opinions, which is great. It's just great. And hence why we need to protect freedom of speech in this country. You need to protect it. But at the same time, I mean, this country is understand, if you're from this country, we're still one. We're still all human. We're still one race. Like, I'm not disregarding the racism, what stems from racism, the systematic oppression for minorities in this country. I'm not saying that like we should just forget any of that. It all still matters. But I think of it like this. Since we're seeing UFOs on social media and it's becoming like more of a reality that there's people from other dimensions passing through our dimension, let's talk about it. Say an alien from a different dimension and their squad wants to come attack the world. Us, as a human society, needs to protect our world. Will all this tribalistic difference in opinions and mindset matter? No. We need to protect humanity. Yeah? We need to protect Earth. Because if we don't, the aliens are going to take over. Just saying, it's more of a perspective thing. I mean, whether you think it's corny or not, I don't care. It's more so like, we're still one human race, regardless of our culture difference, racial difference, gender difference, political view difference, religion difference, which all still matter because they all bring something to the plate and they all need to still be spoken about and be recognized. At the end of the day, we still need to stop undermining that we're all still human. And hopefully that speaks volume. And that's all I really have to say. Embrace your culture. Embrace being Black and beautiful, Asian and intelligent and beautiful, white and beautiful, Indian beautiful. Embrace all that race, culture, Christian, Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslim, whether you're libertarian, democratic, Republican, whether you're a strong woman or an independent man, embrace all that. That's what makes you unique and an individual. That's what makes you add value to this world. But just don't forget, we're still all one human race. you know? So I get it. Sometimes when you're too kind to people, they take advantage. People like take advantage. But not everybody's against you. Not everybody's going to take advantage of you. And you don't know what other people are going through. So it doesn't hurt to be kind. It really doesn't. I mean, create boundaries. Don't get me wrong, create boundaries, but be kind. It's a snowball effect when you're kind to people. A lot of people. I was taught this. Life is like a feeling process, right? So people will remember how you treated them in the past. I'm not trying to sit on a pedestal and act like I treated everybody the best of my ability. You know how to grow and learn this, but I acknowledge it more and more. People remember how you treated them in the past. So it's better off to have people remember you being a better person the way you left them than being a shitty person for just that moment because of how you felt at that moment in time. So anyways, these are my plugins. Follow me at IG, p._Nigma, Nigma. You can follow our podcast, Brian and I. Obviously, it's a plus episode, so he's not here, but it's N_CAST_. And you can email us if you have any questions at ncastpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow my Twitter account, which is Nigma Prince, Nigma Prince, or you can follow Brian's account, which is Brian Lives Life, BrianLivesLife. There you go. That took me a couple times, but yeah, you got it. And yeah, just remember at the end of the day, regardless of our differences, regardless of our historical past, which shouldn't be forgotten, and it's just like you still have to educate people about like our historical past, and in America at least, and like make sure we're respectful for each other, respectful to each other. We're still human. Doesn't mean that you have to like everybody. Doesn't mean that you have to be liked by everybody. Doesn't mean that you have to agree with everybody and what they're saying. Either respect each other's space or just be kind. Because you know what people are going through. You really don't. We don't know each other's lives at the end of the day. We don't. I mean, I even have a problem with it. I tend to assume. I try not to. More and more as I grow. It's just like, I don't know people. I'm still trying to learn myself every day. Yeah, I'll end with that. I appreciate y'all for whoever's watching. Till next time. Peace. Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those?